Hello, today I'm going to be discussing the relationship between alcohol and cancer. So, my research question was, how does alcohol intake affect the risk of developing certain types of cancers? And this was my objective, to inform people about the risks and convince people to reduce alcohol intake to help lower the risk of developing certain types of cancers. So, my goal was to investigate the link between these two. Why study this relationship in the first place? Alcohol is so prevalent in our community, and I feel like people may not think about or realize the impacts of this. Research continues to support and show that alcohol has detrimental effects on the body. Even though we are aware, of the negative effects of alcohol on the liver, many are not aware of the effects on other organs as well. Alcohol use is one of the most preventable risk factors when it comes to cancer. Alcohol accounts for about 6% of cancer-related deaths in the US. Many people don't know about this link between alcohol and cancer, which is why one of my goals is to raise awareness for this. And this image on the left is just showing the percentages of people who were diagnosed with heavy drinking. Alcohol and the impact on our body. Alcohol is linked to several health risks related to cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, digestive problems, and liver disease. Many are aware of short-term impacts on mood, judgment, and coordination. But many are not aware that alcohol also has impacts on the immune system. Drinking too much can weaken the immune system, making the body more susceptible to diseases such as tuberculosis. Research continues to show that the less you drink, the lower the risk for cancer is. Drinking raises the risk for several types of cancers, including colon, liver, breast, mouth and throat, and esophagus. But what happens to the cancer risk if one suddenly stops drinking alcohol? Stopping alcohol consumption is not associated with an immediate reduction in the risk for cancer. Cancer risks can eventually decline, but this can be after years when compared to individuals who had never drank at all in the first place. Some studies even suggest that it would take longer than 35 years for higher risks of cancers of the larynx and pharynx to decrease to the levels of individuals who had never drank. And this image on the left is just highlighting the specific types of cancers that I was mentioning. There were many studies that I also looked into when going through my research. So the first one, the goal of the study was aimed to relate the amount and duration of alcohol consumption in animal models to tumor growth, metastasis, and immune response. And this was a type of study that used animal models. These were some of the key methods. For effects on immune response, for example, animals received 20% ethanol in the drinking water and were inoculated with a strain of melanoma. They received this treatment for more than 12 weeks. Key findings. The animals that received melanoma treatments had lower amounts of blood lymphocytes when compared to the water drinking controls. And overall, when compared to the control, the risk of cancer did increase with alcohol intake. There were multiple correlations with different types of cancers made in the study, which further supports my research question. So now I want to talk about how alcohol actually affects cancer and what happens in the body. When drinking, the body breaks alcohol down into acetaldehyde, a chemical that damages your DNA and prevents the body from repairing the damage that's been made. DNA helps to control cell growth, and if this is damaged, the cell can start to grow out of control, leading to tumors. Alcohol also impairs the body's ability to break down and absorb nutrients. One example of this is folate. Folate is important in red blood cell formation and for healthy cell growth. The body needs folate to make DNA and other genetic material. Low folate levels could play a role in breast and colorectal cancers. Alcohol and its byproducts damage the liver, which can often lead to cirrhosis. Cirrhosis is also a known risk factor for cancer. In general, the fermentation process contains many contaminants. Some of these contaminants can include hydrocarbons and phenols, which are all carcinogenic. And this image on the left is just further showing the process that I was talking about. So if large amounts of alcohol are taken into the body cannot process this fast enough, and it causes a buildup of this acetaldehyde. And this is toxic and causes the DNA damage that I was referring to earlier. Now I'd like to discuss a second study. The goal of this study was aimed at raising awareness that the public has about the relationship between alcohol and cancer. And this was a human clinical study design. These were the key methods. Participants were surveyed aged 18 and older and were asked questions trying to gauge how much they knew about the detrimental effects. These were the findings. Only less than a third of participants said that liquor increases cancer risk. Additionally, 10% of participants believed that drinking wine would actually decrease cancer risk. This shows that participants of the study were least aware of the risk of cancer on wine. Overall, the study showed many did not know about the cancer risks associated with drinking. One of the goals of my project was to help raise awareness, so this is how this study supports my research question. Next, I would like to lastly discuss the third study. The goal of this study aimed to investigate the relationship between the increase of alcohol consumption and development of certain cancers. This was also a human clinical study design. Key methods. Participants were over the age of 40 and underwent a national screening in both 2009 and 2011. The data was analyzed from 2016 to 2020. Alcohol consumption levels were measured, they were self-reported, and were categorized into groups, which were none, mild, moderate, and heavy drinking. The key findings were that the primary outcome was newly diagnosed alcohol-related cancers, such as cancers of the head or neck, liver, esophagus, just to name a few. Increased alcohol consumption was associated with higher risks for alcohol-related cancers. On the other hand, sustained quitting or reduced drinking was associated with lower risk of cancer. So this is how this study related to my overall research question. To conclude, it is best to reduce or limit alcohol intake due to the long-term detrimental effects on the body. It is proven that the less alcohol you drink, the lower the risk for cancer is. For people who choose to drink, it's important to follow the recommendations. People should limit their intake to no more than 2 drinks per day for men and 1 drink a day for women. Additionally, more research is also currently being done on how alcohol affects other types of cancers as well. Thank you for listening to my presentation.